Hello friends. So today I just wanted to jump on here quickly. I know I say this all the time. It's not easy for me to film videos, and I'm doing this during my daughter's nap time. So I'm gonna try to film this flip through. I have a fabric covered cahier size little Christmas journal. And this is for a swap with Anna from Cottage Roses Papery. This is my first ever Christmas journal. So it's mostly Christmas inspired. There's not too many Christmas images, but it has the traditional colors. Yes, so this was the route that I ended up going with. It was supposed to be like a shabby Christmas, and I originally wanted to go with pink and white or whites, creams, and golds, but I didn't have the right amounts of those fabrics. And so I ended up having a whole lot of reds and greens, and so I went with that route. I'm not sure that you would call this shabby chic. It is shabby, very eclectic. It turned out to be very, very eclectic, super chunky, and I just hope you love it, Anna. A few things. Well, I think I'm just going to get on with the flip through and see if I can explain as I can. Please forgive the look of my hands at the moment. I was trying to peel an acorn squash last night, and yeah, that's what happened. So yes, so here is, it is super chunky, mostly, well, it's chunky. I mean, I have an issue with making non-chunky journals, so but it'll have less bulk if she removes the ephemera. So lots of ruffles and tabs. And I haven't done a fabric covered in a while, and so a lot of this was inspired by a few makers. So Handmade of Stardust, with her use of like fabrics, and then the envelope flip, I was inspired by Luna Rosu and Cassie from Dust to Roses. So I wanted to try that this time around. So in the front, I added a little jingle bell and a snowflake. And then the image on the front is actually an Amity Bloom printable. So I'll go ahead and remove this. Hopefully I can do this quickly on camera. Okay. So this is just a wraparound ticking fabric that she can remove and use something else, or she can leave it. So I'm just going to take it off for the purposes of the flip through. There's a lot going on. All right, so hopefully I'm doing this in frame and you can see the details. So I made it into a little tuck, and then here I added a button. What do you call these things? Sample buttons. And as you can see, my beautiful handy hand stitching. It's a very old button card, and I didn't have the original buttons on it, but I had these vintage red buttons, and I thought it would just be really cute here. So Anna, you can remove them, or maybe if you want to keep them on there, I would suggest gluing them down because they're not really sticking down. For the front, I used an envelope from, this is from Brussels, from Belgium. I think it's Belgium. No, Brussels. From the 1920s, and I just thought it went perfectly because of the greens. So I tried, since I didn't have like the traditional images, I did use things that I, had the greens, and then of course I added my favorite little lace. I think everything I've made for her so far has at least a little piece of this lace that I'm running out of. You're going to see throughout here also that I use these are the scraps of hanging file folders, the edges. I have one right here. So I've used these at the edge of pages, at the bottom of tags, and I just really like the look, looping through or wrapping through like ribbon or sari. Okay, so that is the flap. This is the back flap. And this is a Ruby and Pearl digital. And then I just tucked this in here just to show that there is a pocket. There's tons of glitter everywhere, and I try to remove as much as I can, but maybe with a lint roller or a piece of tape. So this is just like a random little piece of ephemera. Kind of like a tag, but there's like a tuck here, and it's actually a pocket on the inside. And then there's like 2 tucks here. Thought that was kind of cute. So that just lives in here right now. Okay. Back to the front. This is the actual cover. So here I have just a mixture of trims. This is like a boho tree little scrap trim that I put at the top, and here I just played with like the ruffles, and honestly, I like the way it turned out. It is over the top for me. I made a little tree using some vintage buttons. This reminded me, like this antique tatting, it reminded me of like garland, so I ended up just putting that, thinking of that last minute, and I think it turned out pretty cute. This is a vintage, one of those calling cards. That's your pocket. And then that's the side, super chunky. And this is the inside. So here I put a snowflake ornament. And then this is another thing that was inspired by Luna Rosu. These pretty much these altered envelopes, and I just put it as a pocket, so it's a tuck spot. This is a vintage little note. So funny. But yeah, so that's a blank little vintage note. And then this opens up. I think I'll open it on camera, but then I'll close it off camera because I don't want to take too much time. But yeah, so she could use this as a journaling spot. Okay. And then here, it's just a little lace pocket, and there is a letter. It's not a Christmas letter, but it is a letter written, it's from the 40s, and it's in December, so they are talking about like Christmas movies and whatnot, so just thought I would include it. And then this is one of those like really old vintage documents from Italy, and I just folded it over so it actually has a pocket on the inside here that she can use. For this journal, I had fun altering these little Rolodex cards, so I did like these fabric collages. And there was another vintage document from Italy, and then a postcard. This is a New Year's one, but it had like a winter scene. So there's a couple of vintage postcards throughout the journal. This was a big doily that I ended up folding, so she can actually use it as writing space. And then here I did some, throughout I did a few like paint splatters. And this is part of one of Anna's Christmas digitals. I'll link it below. This is also part of that digital. I didn't have too many Christmas papers, but this is out of an Ideals book. It's Christmas theme, but it's talking about like issues, Christmas issues coming up. So like one of the order forms. So that's the other side. Some avocado dyed paper. School notebook paper. Embossed paper. Another one of these really pretty tucks. This is an envelope. I love this one. Then it's another like vintage book page. On the other side, I just collaged, made a little pocket here. This is another old postcard. This is like some typewriter, vintage typewriter paper. Antique music paper, love that. And then I was really inspired to make this. This is like one of those, oops, got a piece of ephemera that came out. So this ephemera is actually a really cool piece. I think it's in French, but it's from Spain. Or at least it has the Spain images, but I'm not sure. And then this tag was inspired by Rose Hill Paper Cottage. She did like these hidden pocket type tags. So I only made one. I was going to make more. Haven't been able to get around to it. So in this little flap, I just tucked in this adorable little Christmas card. How cute is that? It's a little vintage card. And then, so this opens up like that. There's a pocket here. That's where I had this. And then it opens up, and then she has room to journal or collage, secret little tuck, however she sees fit. So I really love that tag. And there goes the file folder ends again. Okay, and I had that just going through. Since it is a pocket, I ended up sliding that in there. So I might have to continue this flip through later. Okay, this is a vintage ideals book with the sugar cookies. This is an envelope. I tucked in this vintage photo. It's not Christmas related because I didn't have any Christmas photos, but still cute. And small enough to tuck in there. This is just an altered postcard, also not Christmas, but it had the green and I just altered it. I think 1932, I'm assuming. Okay, and then these pages I just embossed with my only Christmas type of embossing folder. And this I just stapled on. It's just a piece of not really a garland, it's a decoration for Christmas. And that opens up. And here is that file folder thing again. And I just stitched it on, ran through some of this sari. And I just really, really, really love how that turned out. Love it. And this is just a Marie Antoinette old postcard. And this is one of those really old like checks. Once again, I had the green, so just added that in there. Just made a tag. And this is actually, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's embossed with snowflakes, and then it is a shaker. I wanted to make it look like snow. And then here for the center, I used a really old letter from 1902. The inner pocket, this is the envelope for it. Now this picture is not part of the letter, but it just looked cute on there. A mom and her 2 kids. And here, this is my own, what do you call it, fake tape. So it opens up like that. I put it in to reinforce it because using that for the center wasn't the wisest thing. And this is actually original ephemera that came inside of that letter. So it's kind of cool to read through. I didn't read the whole letter to kind of understand why they had these clippings in there, but it's about like husbands and wives. So I just tucked it in there so it could stay with the original letter. Another postcard. This is the only Christmas postcard I owned. And this is another one of those tucks of the Rolodex. And here, this little cat is also part of her printable. I just had to cut him out because it was so funny. It's so cute. So just a little collage there. This is Anna's washi tape. And then I just made a simple little journaling card here. A watercolor on the back. I love how that turned out. I ended up using a lot of this velvet in different places. These are just some old notepad receipt paper type things, and then these little buttons are also in her Christmas collection. This is an old little card from Spain, so cute. And then in this tiny envelope I just put in a couple of like tickets that had, you know, the reds and greens. I had that this way. So cute. More collaging. And then this is a really old book page, that rag paper. I love the texture of that. And then I just put, I didn't make this paper clip. I have to link the shop that I got it from below. I just haven't seen her. I don't know if she closed her shop or moved it, but it's not there. This is a French recipe card. And that's the other side of that recipe. Cookie recipe. And then this is a recipe, a blank recipe card that she can use for the holidays. Okay. I was gonna alter this, but I'll let her do it unless I, you know, have some time. I'll put some fabric or something. But I love this patina. It has a natural aging on it. And this, I love how this turned out. Let's see if I can take it out. So this is like a makeshift button card. This is also from the same digital kit from Anna. I think it was so cute. And this is on watercolor, so she can definitely do watercolor on the back or use it for something else. And let's see if I can reclip that without hurting anything. This, I just put it there because it says 24, but it's actually August. Anyway, but that's off of a Rolodex too, right? And then I got this idea from Luna Rosu. She shared a flip through of one of her journals recently, and oh my goodness, I fell in love with the page that she did with, like, she had put diagonally different ribbons. She had a bow and everything, but this reminded me of a candy cane to do the white and then the red stripes. And you can actually put little, like if she's going to use this as a December daily or anything, she can put little photos in each section that will look cute. Here I just stapled on a fabric sample. This is an antique piece of lace that I've been wanting to put on a journal. Never did, so I'll let her play with that. And this is a vintage green, I think it's like a tapestry type fabric, not sure. And then I just collaged here over that book page. My baby woke up. A recipe. I have to do this really quickly. This is another vintage letter. Antique from 1923. So cute. The only winter picture I had. I have to cut this short, guys. This is a really cute part of that printable. And then that's the other side of that sheet. That's a vintage tag. And look at how gorgeous that printable is. Alright guys, so I have to run. Hope you like the flip through. I'll try to do either a more detailed or a quiet flip through soon of it. Alright, take care. Bye.